This week, we have your silly, unbelievable, actually pretty believable RV mishap stories, as well as one of our own from our recent 1,500-mile trip to the Midwest. Plus, we have a little bit of news and a pretty big announcement for those of you who like merch. This is RV Miles.
RV Miles is sponsored by LL Bean, dedicated to helping you experience all the benefits of time outside and stay more comfortable while you're out there. From soft and breathable activewear designed to do it all, to just right layers perfect for changing weather, to sun-smart clothing that blocks the sun's harmful rays, every LL Bean product is made with comfortable time outside in mind. Visit llbean.com to shop now. LL Bean. Be an outsider. Welcome to episode 218 of the RV Miles podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two full-time travelers who, along with our three boys, have been on the road since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk everything from travel destinations to industry news, national parks, and so much more.
It's Christmas here at RV Miles headquarters. If you're watching on YouTube, you see a little bit of Christmas decorations, but
a little bit.
We went out and splurged a little bit and have been decorating the Sabre. And you got in a little bit of trouble from your mom for that because it's too early. You
called that a little bit of trouble? I got yelled at by my mama.
You got a real talking to about the history of Thanksgiving. And how important Thanksgiving is.
Yeah, my mom was not happy.
We love Thanksgiving.
She was not. She felt very strongly that, and it was always a tradition in our family that we didn't decorate for the holidays, for the Christmas holiday, until the day after Thanksgiving. You know, every season has to have its due respect, or every holiday. And look here, okay, at RV Miles, I'm 42 years old. I do what I want. And except when my mom yells at me, and then I go and do what my mama wants. But we are only in the Sabre until about December 12th or 13th.
Yeah, so we need our Christmas time.
Yes. Well, This was very, very important for those that like to decorate for the holiday season. The kids were really excited that this was the first time we have a space like we have here in our fifth wheel to really do it up for the holidays like we used to do in the apartment. So when I started looking at the calendar, I thought, well, oh my gosh, if we wait till after Thanksgiving, that's only going to be like 15 days. And I mean, that's crazy.
Well,
okay.
A big part of it is that we are pretty much stationary now until we head to Kansas City without the trailer for Christmas, but we're here in the Quad Cities area, my hometown on the Iowa-Illinois border.
It's cold.
Until mid-December.
Yes.
And so we've got about a month sitting in one park, and we are camping. We are winter camping.
Yes.
It is cold. It is getting down well into the 20s at night, but we're staying warm. We're being all right.
We're totally fine. We have our heated water hose. If you saw a recent reel that we did on Instagram, or if you were on TikTok, then you know that one of the ways we're kind of combating the cold is by putting window insulation kits all around the 18 windows that we have here in the Sabre, which I think has officially become its name now, Sabre, just so that everyone knows we know how to say Sabre. So, we have been very, very busy, and we have had a lot of traveling to do in a very short amount of time since the RV Miles meetup that we had in the Sedona area just a couple weeks ago. So if you have been wondering, where has episode 218 been? Well, it's because we ended up doing...
It was on the highway somewhere in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's just lost on one of those weird state highways that the Garmin kept taking us on. We covered, and we're going to kick off, I think... well, do we want to do this now, or do you want to do... do we have any news that we want to talk about first?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's talk about it. We are going to be the ones that kick off this whole segment we're doing. This is going to be a 2-part episode on stories, mishaps, maybe that's the best way to say it, silly stories, things that happen to us that are so very unique to camping. And we had crowdsourced this about 7 weeks ago in the RV Miles Facebook and over on Instagram, asking for your stories, funny stories that you wanted to share that maybe weren't funny at the time. Now you can laugh at them, or they were funny at the time.
Yeah.
And we're going to kick it off by sharing the 3 days that we went from Albuquerque, New Mexico to the Quad Cities of Illinois, which is about 1,280 miles, right?
Yeah. And look, there is a reason we don't like to travel much more than 200 miles in a day.
And you're about to hear all of them.
Usually 300 is our max. And every time, it's always around this time of year, we do a big push to get somewhere because we're trying to beat the cold, which I don't know why we were trying so hard to be like, oh, we can't be camping in the cold. We got to get up there because we were just going to cold. So what was...
It wasn't the cold. I'm never trying to beat the cold. We're always trying to beat the freezing rain, the extremely high winds. Like, that's what we're trying to beat.
But there have been times in the past when it's been like, this is our last day to camp in the South. We got to winterize and then drive north and stay in a hotel or a night or two. And it wasn't that cold that we couldn't do that.
Fair enough. But when we were in the bus, it was cold.
Well, the bus, we didn't have heat for driving.
Right.
We only had heat when we were stopped. So in the bus, you can go back in the archives and there's an epic travel day in there where we did the same thing coming from the same area. And I'm driving the bus with no heat and like blankets on my lap and stuff. And you've got the kids in the minivan behind me and there's tons of fog and stuff. Anyway,
Kansas.
This drive, the intent was to go that distance in about 3 days of travel. We had a little break in there where we stayed a few nights in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
When we headed to, we started heading from Camp Verde, Arizona to Albuquerque, and we spent a few nights in Albuquerque. And then our real long trek started. So,
and you know what? Because we were like, we're going to break it up and have a couple days in Albuquerque and be real chill. It made it worse because what happened was the Midwest was like, oh, is that what you're doing? Yeah. So guess what? Those 2 days you're hanging out in Albuquerque, we're going to have gorgeous weather in the Midwest. The day you start traveling, we're going to have a cold front come through that's going to include rain, 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and so much more for you Eppersons. The Midwest was like, welcome home. This is what it's like.
If you ever are planning on taking a 4-day drive and want to have a little break in the middle, realize the middle isn't after the first day.
We were just living a life of leisure. We were like, oh, we drove 377 miles. Let's stop for 2 days. Let's take a break.
So we hit the road in earnest from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and headed up to Oklahoma City. And that's a long drive.
Yeah. So the plan was we were scheduled to come into the campground that we're doing a monthly at on a Friday. And we felt, it was a joint decision that we didn't want to do a big, long push that day. Yeah. We wanted it to be a shorter one so that we could get here, get settled, go spend time with our family.
That final day.
So in order for that to happen, in order for that to be like a 200-mile or less day, we had to do 2 back-to-back. One was 560 miles. The other was 580. So it was going from Albuquerque to OKC to Des Moines.
That's a lot of miles. I know some of you are, and God bless you, some of you do like 800 miles in a day. I don't know how you do it, but that's 580 miles is way too much for us.
Oh, it's way too much. It was 12-hour days. And then when you have to stop and you're trying to do a little bit of work, which didn't happen, it turned out being 3 days that we were off work. And for anyone that has to take 3 unplanned days off work, you know what that does to you when you have to come back to work.
Well, part of it was planned, and we had this big project that had to be finished before we left, but the big project didn't get finished.
Well, we aren't even supposed to be here technically. Obviously, we are here, and there's reasons we've come home to be with family. We're so thankful we can be here. But when we did all that scheduling, Jay, we were like, we're going from Camp Verde to Phoenix and then to Tucson. So we had slowed travel way down in order to compensate for some of these deadlines we had. Well, that's why this podcast it's not a week. It's been 10 days since you heard from us last. But the 2 500-mile days ended up being longer because for whatever reason, our Garmin took us onto state highways that were either at some point in the drive closed, like you couldn't even detour them, and we had no idea until we were on that state highway, or were closed in certain sections and required a detour that added an hour.
So the first day was the drive to Oklahoma City was long, but it wasn't terrible.
It was a direct route.
And everybody did decent on that drive. Mm-hmm. It was a long, big day. And had our journey ended there, fine. We would have been all right. But the problems really began that night.
Are we going to relive that night?
If you want to tell the story, we're going to tell the story. So we park.
A hard night.
We park. We really nondescript off the highway campground in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. Just a pull through overnight thing. We go into the pull through. Everything is fine. We unhook the trailer. We level. We do all this stuff. And then we realize that the power cord doesn't reach because the electric box is very far forward in the site. Mm-hmm. And we had an extension for our power cord, but I cannibalized it when I installed our inverter. Which, in theory, the inverter and the batteries would have got us through the night, and that wouldn't be an issue. Abby was so sure that they wouldn't get us through the night, and I was so sure that they absolutely would because we have tons of battery power now. But unfortunately, the inverter was set to shut off when the batteries got below like a really like high level, and the inverter shut off in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. And we also ran out of propane in the middle of the night, didn't we?
We did. Yeah. So,
we didn't run out, but I had to switch the propane tanks, right?
Yes. So in the middle of the night when it was freezing inside the RV, and I had to wake you up. It wasn't very generous in the way that I did it.
No.
And I don't know what else to say other than that was the beginning of what just was the next 36 hours of a comedy of errors. This is like Shakespeare wrote this for us. I don't know how else. You can't make this stuff up. It started with that. Then we had a situation with the toll roads in OKC.
Don't tell this story in advance. We got to go to the next step.
I thought we left the campground and then we had toll roads.
It sounds like you're like hinting at the story and then are going to tell it. But we got to tell it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was giving the cliff notes. Otherwise, we're going to be here for 45 minutes.
No, because this is important because I really need to lay into this tollway here.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to be like, I really need to lay into you for how you reacted at this toll.
I don't know how some of you love the state highways, the blue routes, and going the back roads, and that's. I much prefer the interstates. Really. So the plan was to go from Oklahoma City up on the interstate into Kansas, up through like Wichita and over to Kansas City and up.
Yeah, we're going to take 35 the whole way.
Yeah. And that's what I thought I pressed on the GPS, but apparently it was giving me multiple routes and I pressed the wrong one. And
put us
was
on
sending
44.
this wrong one. And I'm looking at the signs and I'm like, that's not the way I planned to go. And I'm like, do I listen to myself or the GPS? And I listened to the GPS. And we ended up taking state highways up through Oklahoma and Missouri up to Kansas City.
We didn't catch 35 until we hit KC. And then we hit 35 in KC at 6:00 at night.
And this route begins with a tollway, a state highway tollway, that charges you $12.50 if you have 4 axles, and does not take credit cards
or check
or anything.
We were like, we don't know what you want us to do. And she's like, you need to go to an ATM. And I was like, you want me to take my 43-foot fifth wheel to the ATM.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I have to do here. And I was like, can I go online? How about I go online? Can I go online and pay?
Nope.
Nope. And then she's like, I just work here. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds great.
How do you have a tollway that charges in excess of $10 for a vehicle to go through that doesn't take credit cards in this day and age? Or
they want you to buy their pass.
Or even have a mail-in option or a online option. None of it. It blows my mind that they don't. And if your argument is, well, it takes time to run a credit card, it took a lot longer for her to explain what we needed to do.
It was not a good start to the day. We ended up at a QT to find an ATM so that we could get through the next toll. And then
she hands us this envelope, and there wasn't a next toll. We thought there was going to be a next toll. So now we do have to pay by mailing in a thing.
Well, do I have to mail in $12.95 and change?
Yeah. Probably.
Love of God.
Maybe you can mail in a check. I don't know. But it says on the envelope, it is illegal to travel on this tollway without cash.
What is that? So, look.
And we had cash. We just didn't have $12.50.
I was like, can I give you my $8?
And we didn't know we were getting on a tollway because 35 accepts cards, and we knew that would be fine. Anyway, so that was the start of it.
Where was this passion that you have for this subject right now when we were actually dealing with the toll? Because you were just like very like, yeah, that's cool. All right, we'll go find an ATM. Sounds great.
You were a little angry at the lady. I did not believe it was the lady's fault.
Oh, you know I'm going to get pinged for this one too. So,
but I understand the emotions you were going through. It was annoying. It was really annoying. I get it.
It was.
So we're heading up these state highways through Oklahoma into Missouri, and I'm not even sure which state we were in when all this happened. But there's this detour that Garmin wants to take us on, and we're looking at the map and we're like, that makes no sense. We can go this other way, and it's going to be so much better. But we decide we don't know what's going on that way. We don't know if the Garmin might know something better than we do.
It didn't.
So we trust the Garmin. And we start following the detour. And it quickly is obvious that detour is going to be awful. And that we would have been better off doing what we intended to do, right? So we turned down a gravel road to turn around and
go around the block.
We ended up being literally like to go around the block, but go around the block in farm country, meaning like we're several miles on a gravel road. Yeah. We turn around. We head the other way on the detour. Then there's another detour.
Yes. This one is coupled with the need for fuel.
Yeah, so we're starting to get at the point where we need to fuel up. And we see a gas station, but we also see a billboard saying there's a Love's 10 miles down the road that will be easier for us to get in and manage, and some other fuel stations as backups and places to eat and all that sort of stuff.
Like life.
So we pass up this fuel station, and a couple miles down the road, another detour.
Yeah. And this time the road is completely shut down.
Completely
There's
blocked
no
off.
road. We have to take this detour. We take the detour. We take the right. And as soon as we get on this detour, there are two now big signs on the detour road that say bridge out, local traffic only. We stop. And we're going, okay, maybe we can 3-point turn ourselves around. Nope, that was ridiculous. You should have seen these two. 5.5 years on the road. These two trying to do a 3-point turn in a fifth wheel. So dumb.
On a 2-lane road.
So dumb. So dumb. Then someone comes up behind us. I'm like, I'm sorry. We're not new at this, I swear. But even if we were, this is silly. And then I said, can you tell me, is there a way to keep going? Can we go around the block and not hit this bridge? And this very, very nice person is like, yes, absolutely. Trucks come down this all the time. Keep going straight, take a left, go around the block. You can come back to this highway. Because at this point, we're thinking, well, we need to get fuel. Because now we're looking like, how far do we have to go before we hit fuel?
The Garmin's saying on this route that we've got 40 miles until the next fuel station, which was probably going to be too much. So we needed to go back anyway.
Yeah.
So okay, we're going to find this gravel road
Yeah,
this
we're
person is
gonna-
talking about. We pass the gravel road. We miss it.
We miss
entirely.
it because it says no through trucks.
Yeah, so-
and we're like, oh, that can't possibly be it. No, that was it. So we keep going. So finally, we have to turn around. So I'm zoomed in on the map. I'm like, okay, it looks like 7th Street is coming up, which 7th Street is just like a gravel road, and they named it 7th Street. And I said, okay, it looks like that's going to go around again, another giant farm block, and we can get back on that other road and go back to that little gas station that we saw, and we can make that work. So we start to turn down it, and Jason just says, this is ridiculous. I'm not driving this. Hey, Abby, how about you go out into the main road where all the giant trucks keep coming by, and you stop traffic, and I'm going to back this thing up.
Yeah, so I back up all the way across the street so then I could turn right and head back the other
So
direction.
I step out into the main road. He's on speakerphone, and I'm like, I hope that this is kind of a blind hill. Let's just hope if a truck decides to come up and over it, they see me in enough time to stop.
We had no idea, like, how far this bridge out was or
No.
anything like that.
We have no idea.
No,
I mean-
as much as Garmin was part of the issue,
We were the issue.
Well, there were also no road signs. It said, don't turn right here.
Yeah.
Like, the bridge out sign should be before the right turn saying, go this way.
So, Jason was a total boss. He backed that thing straight up onto the other side of 7th Street, across. He did great. No big trucks showed up, no cars. It wasn't super heavy traffic. I mean, this was obviously a detour. The kids were in no danger. At that point, I get back in and I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I've had it. We've still got 300 miles to
And
go.
all the time, you're worried about hitting Kansas City at rush hour because we were going beyond Kansas
Yeah,
City.
I didn't want to.
You just keep talking about what routes we need to do to, and it turned out it took so long to deal with all this stuff that we were way past rush hour when we drove through Kansas.
Totally fine.
City.
Because we were supposed to hit 35 in Kansas and go through Overland Park and all of that at rush hour. And anyone or hot tip for anybody, if you find yourself in that area and Garmin or whoever wants to take you through that particular section of Mocan at like 5 o'clock, you pull over and wait, because that is the business district for all of the greater Kansas City area. Anyone that works for corporate America, for the most part, works in the Overland Park, Olathe, Lenexa area. I'm not getting on that highway at 5 o'clock to deal with all of that. So didn't need to worry about it anyway, because we were still like 170 miles away, and we didn't roll into the Kansas City area till 7 o'clock at night.
7 o'clock at night in Kansas City, and we still needed to get up to almost Des Moines.
We'd been driving for 11 hours. So now we're on 35. We're moving north through Missouri. We're headed into Iowa, and here come the winds. And it's like, I think at this point, 40-mile-an-hour gusts.
From the wrong direction. They're hitting us. They're broadsiding
us. And so the winds are holding steady at 20, which is totally fine and safe. And even when it was gusting, we were totally fine. We were safe. We get to our campground. We're staying at a casino. Temperature is going to drop that night. It's going to get real cold. And we are pelted all night long with wind.
We're like on a sort of like on a bluff that was completely free of trees, where the wind could just sweep in and just nail us and rock us the whole night long.
All night long. It was awful. I hardly slept. It felt like being on a very, very rocky cruise ship. I came out and slept in the living room because it was kind of hitting the back of the trailer and really making that part like sway, which is where our bedroom is.
It's also like making our license plate flap, so that's making all kinds of noise back there.
It was loud. It was just the perfect ending to just a really cruddy day. We get up the next morning, and I'm noticing that in Des Moines, they're showing, because we needed to go finish 50 more miles up into Des Moines, and we got to cut over and head east on 80. And I'm noticing in Des Moines that it's saying wind gusts of up to 50 miles per hour. And I'm like, nope, we cannot drive that. That's too much. We cannot do this 50-mile stretch. I don't feel comfortable. And I talked to Jason, and he didn't feel comfortable either. That's just, the gusts are too strong. So we're thinking, do we stay one more day and put up with those gusts down here at this campground, or is there an alternative? Well, of course there's an alternative. It's a state highway alternative.
So we take the state highways on purpose this time.
Yes, but the whole point was that we were right by a state highway that would immediately have us going east, which would put the wind at our back.
And we could go slower. And
yes.
that was a big part of the intent because, instead of going 65, we're going 55. And there's a big difference between those two speeds when it's really windy.
And so we were able to do that. And actually, that day, that 200 miles we needed to go ended up being very, very pleasant. The winds ended up not being an issue, except for the fact that 15 minutes into the drive, Henry threw up. And then I just started laughing. And I was like, this is a comedy of errors.
It was also snowing that morning. So
I forgot.
Add that in there.
It was also snowing. It was like in the upper 30s, and there were wind gusts of 50 miles per hour. And our son threw up 15 minutes into the drive. And yet I'm still like, that was the best drive day.
And we can preface this all with several days of Abby dreading camping up here in the cold and me saying, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's not going to be that bad.
It'll be great. It'll be an adventure. That's what you always say to me. It'll be an adventure. And then I say, are you even looking at the Weather Channel? Like, what adventure?
We rolled into this campground and the road had been freshly paved outside of it. Which this road has been terrible for years. We were welcomed and
we have the warmth of your parents' home, which is really wonderful. And it's nice to be with them and your family. And there's so many positives in those. But can I just say before we wrap up this, and you're going to have to edit the life out of this because this was a long story. I just want to say that our kids did so good. And they had 3 very, very long days of sitting in the truck. They had their moments for sure. But I think that if the kids were telling this story, they would probably be like, my mom and dad drove me nuts because my mom and dad spent one day where they were barely speaking to each other because they were fighting. So... which was probably a good thing. We opted for the silent argument as opposed to a verbal one. But they really put up with a lot. And sometimes they are asked so much in order for us to accomplish some of the things that we have to accomplish either in work or in our personal life. And I really think it's important to acknowledge that they just did so good. They definitely did not learn by example in that particular trip. So I'm glad that they didn't take some of our cues. But I just feel like we need to say thank you to the kids for helping us get here. They did their part and then some.
Let's take a break.
Yes.
And when we come back, we've got some more great stories, but
not ours.
But not ours.
Yeah. No more of our story. We'll be right back. Find your next camping adventure with the Spot Tonight app. Spot Tonight offers real-time visibility across numerous campgrounds available for immediate booking. Easy to use and free to download, with Spot Tonight, you can build a traveling profile, share parks with friends via messaging, and mark your favorite campgrounds. Travelers can search for specific parks that meet their exact need for tonight and beyond. No more blind searches in hopes of finding an available spot. Simply look, book, and go. Campground owners download the Spot Tonight app and see how your park can join a vastly expanding network. For more information, visit spottonight.com or simply download the app in the Apple or Google Play stores. Look, book, and go with Spot Tonight. The holiday season is here, and Solo Stove is currently having its biggest sale of the year. Now through December 5th, you can buy one, get one on camp stoves, 35% off fire pits, 40% off fire pit bundles, and so much more. Plus, RV Miles listeners can save an extra $10 on their Solo Stove purchase of $100 or more. Head to rvmiles.com/Solo Stove for all the details and enjoy this extended Cyber Week deal through December 5th.
We're back and we're here to talk about some of your crazy stories on the road. And there are quite a few good ones, and we definitely cannot use them all. We might do a second episode of this, but we're going to throw some out there that were some of our favorites on this week's episode. Maybe we'll revisit this again.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, you can always go over to the RV Miles Facebook group and just search for this thread and read all of the comments for yourself, too. So thank you to everyone, though, that participated and who wanted to share these stories, because I know sometimes it can be a little difficult to admit that it's not always so roses and sunshine on the road, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive in. We're going to start with a couple from Instagram first, and then we'll move over to the group. So this first one comes from our friend Steven, and he writes, as a kid, traveling through the UP of Michigan with my grandparents in a very brown motorhome, the refrigerator door came open around a corner, and a gallon jar of pickled beets and eggs came straight for me. The massive jar broke, sending dark red rancid liquid all over me, the shag carpet, and the brown velour sofa, which was my bed. I still wince going around corners and can't come near anything pickled. It was a long trip. I mean, I would have been out with the velour. I'd have been like, Grandma and Grandpa, I'm sorry. I can't sleep on this. It's velour. I can't handle it. But the smell, can you imagine? I mean, we had a jar of spaghetti sauce once.
Yeah, that was fresh. But, obviously spaghetti sauce exploding in your middle of your motorhome is not a good thing either.
But the smell of pickled items, I couldn't. Yeah, that'd be hard for me to return to camping after that. The next one comes from Mia, and this is also here on Instagram, and she writes, our son was about 18 months at the time. Somehow he dropped a tension rod down the RV toilet without us knowing. He had to have kept his foot on the pedal long enough for the whole rod to be down there. Took us weeks to figure out after our toilet kept clogging. We tried every trick in the RV toilet unclogging book and even purchased a snake. Finally, my husband got fed up and went elbow deep digging around. That's when he discovered the rod. Thankfully, there is a bend in our black tank plumbing. Otherwise, the rod would probably still be living in our tank and causing a blockage every time we dumped. Needless to say, that tension rod went right into the trash. Kudos to John for going elbow deep. Talk about taking one for the family team.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
I have. Listen. Don't even. I'm not talking about RVing. I'm talking about running a theater. The number of things that I had to do. We're not even going to go there.
Let's not have that discussion. Be kind to your theater bathrooms, please, when you go in to use them.
Any public bathrooms.
Any public bathroom. Just please be kind. If you drop something, pick it up.
Yeah, okay? And can I do a short tangent on that? No.
As long as people want to keep listening to
I'm going to just say that for anybody that has cleaned public bathrooms before, the ladies' room is dirtier than the men's room.
We're not gonna have that argument.
It's unbelievable.
We're not gonna have that argument.
Why are y'all standing on the toilets? Why are there shoe marks on the wall from you flushing?
I can't comment. I wasn't present when those happened. Okay, we don't all go into the stalls together and watch each other. I have no idea, Jay. I don't know.
If you don't put a trash can next to the door in the women's restroom, because women like to take a paper towel and open the door with the paper towel.
Germs.
If you do not put a trash can there, they will just throw them on the floor.
Well, you know what? Put a trash can there then, okay? So that people can stay safe. They don't want to touch the door handle.
And this is pre-COVID times. All right.
All right. Can you tell we haven't done this for a few days? We've just got so many things to talk about. All right. Let's get into what we found here in the Facebook group. So we're going to start with a comment from friend of the show, John, who writes, Huntington Beach State Park in South Carolina. We saw a couple driving a golf cart, and the lady was holding a monkey that was holding a stuffed animal monkey. So it was a double monkey.
A real monkey that had its own stuffed animal monkey on a golf cart in a state park.
a double monkey. Double monkey. Those are things you will only see at the campground and most likely only at state or federal parks. Okay, so this next one comes from Heath Paget. And, we've talked a few times about our friend Heath, obviously RV entrepreneur. We were just there at their new campground in Montrose earlier this year for their RVE Summit.
It's really Alyssa's story.
It really is Alyssa.
Wife.
Heath shared it in the group on behalf of Alyssa. I mean, she may not know that he shared it, but it's on behalf.
It's a blog post of theirs from years ago from Alyssa, and we'll share the blog post in the show notes in the description. But you just have to read the way Alyssa writes it because it's so good. But Cliff's Notes version
She's a good writer.
Is that their shower had like a travel lock to keep the door shut, and it was sort of like shower across from the bathroom, right? So the shower is separate, and it had a travel lock, and Heath was in the habit of always flipping the travel lock. And Alyssa was always on his case about this. Like, you only need to lock it during travel days, right?
Oh, why you always lock the door?
So he goes out for one of his long walks while she's in the shower, not knowing that she's actually locked in the shower. And he's gone for like a half hour while she's in an RV shower that has run out of water, run out of hot water. And this whole post is about all the games she played with herself, figuring out what to do, like reading the shampoo bottles. And I'm going to give myself a pedicure with that stone that women have in their showers for whatever reason.
Whatever reason, it's to keep,
we don't know why you all have a rock.
It's a pumice stone. And you use it on your dry feet.
She's like, I should use this thing that I haven't used in forever and give myself a little pedicure. And then she's like, maybe I have hot water again. She turns the hot water on and gets like 2 minutes of shower and just standing there in the cold until Heath finally comes back a half hour later to let her out of the shower. It's a fantastic story that she tells way better than I do.
That is absolutely amazing and not too far from what I could see actually happening around here. So this one also comes from another friend of ours, Michelle, and this one pretty much would have probably ended my RVing days for sure. She says, a few days prior, we had just arrived at a wildlife refuge where we would be volunteering for 4 months. We're relaxing in our room when my 5-year-old son comes in and says, "Hey, there's a snake in your closet." My husband told him it was just our climbing rope. "No, that's a snake," he says. Sure enough.
That's a total guy thing. It's like, no, not even going to look. It's just, that's just our climbing rope.
I love how it's like, no, it's our climbing rope. It's totally normal. Get out of our bedroom. It's fine. We're all good. Sure enough, we had a 4-foot coach whip snake in our bedroom. Oh my God, I don't even know if I could read this, Jason. When my husband went to grab it, it darted under my pillow. "Stop," I bleated. It was dangerously close to dropping behind the bed where it would be impossible to retrieve, in which case we'd have to move to a hotel. Luckily, the refuge biologist also lived on site. I ran to her and she was able to capture the snake and release it. We found the snake had climbed the extension cord we had running through a vent in the side of the RV to run a second AC in the 100+10 heat. We immediately sealed that vent. You can't see it or just imagine right now I have goosebumps all over my arms because I'm sure many of you know snakes are not my thing. That is my nightmare.
I'll read this one. This one comes from our friend Damien over at Rootless Living magazine, who has another magazine now that y'all might be interested in that Abby's going to talk about in her Fresh Tank later on. But Damien says, I downloaded a beta version of the Nomad Near Me app. After I downloaded it, it said Nathan and Marissa, the founders of the app, were 1 mile away. Nathan and Marissa from Less Junk, More Journey. I messaged Nathan to tell him the app had a glitch and was saying he was in the same RV park, and then I found out he was only 4 spots over. Good news, the app had no glitch and obviously really works. We actually like the Nomad Near Me app.
Yeah.
It's free. What's great is like if you meet people on the road, you can friend them on it, and
it will tell you if they're nearby, but it only gives you a general area. So it's still, there's still a lot of safety involved, and you can go in and adjust those settings too. But it will say if somebody is, within so many miles of you.
It's not going to be like Jason and Abby are at Sunshine RV Park, site 427. They are currently home.
It's time to move into some fun that happens with stabilizers, which can always be an issue. This one comes from Peggy Barthel over at the Stressless Camping Podcast.
You might have remember her from last week's episode.
Or 2 weeks ago, whenever we did that episode.
The last episode is what I should have said.
It didn't happen to us, but to friends we were camping with. They had a pop-up and hadn't remembered to put the stabilizers down. One of them crawled... One of them crawled onto the bed and the trailer. One of them crawled onto the bed and the trailer tipped over.
Can you imagine?
From inside there was screaming. From outside there was lots of laughter. If you haven't been in a pop-up before, they really need those stabilizers.
Oh man, I definitely would have been the one outside laughing at that one. That would have. I would like to know. I mean, I need Peggy to kind of finish this story, because did everyone who was outside have to go over?
Lift him up.
Or were they able to crawl themselves off of one side of the bed and then move to the other side of the pop-up to get it? I have so many questions. I need Peggy to come and finish this story for me.
This next one involves stabilizers as well, and would not have been as funny when it happened, but I'm
No.
glad they can laugh about it now.
And this comes from Abigail, a fantastic name, by the way. And she writes, well, if stupidest thing you did to your RV counts, that would probably be when we had a single axle trailer and decided to change both tires at the same time by holding the trailer up with the 4 stabilizer jacks. In our defense, it worked. At least until one of us decided to go inside the trailer. That movement inside the trailer was enough to rock it, causing it to come crashing down, twisting all 4 jacks like licorice whips.
Stabilizer jacks.
Oh, ouch.
Boy, those things are not made to lift anything.
They are not there to support.
But I'm glad they were fine.
I'm glad everyone in these 2 stories is fine. I'm glad that we can all laugh at some of the silly things that happened to us afterwards. And I appreciate everyone so much for sharing these with us, because like I said at the beginning, it can be kind of hard sometimes to admit our goofier mistakes. It's very easy, though, as Peggy demonstrated, to tell someone else's goofy mistake and enjoy laughing about it. So I love all of these stories, and we will have so many more.
Yeah, we'll have to leave it there, but we're definitely going to have to come back to this because there's so many great ones.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's fun from time to time to just be silly on the show and just and talk about things like this. So that's it. If you have a story you would like to contribute, if you've listened to this and thought, oh, hold my beer, I've got one better, feel free to either email us at editor@rvmiles.com or just head over to the RV Miles Facebook group and just search silliest, funniest, craziest thing. And this thread should come right up for you. In fact,
that's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pin it in the group. And then that way you can see it in the featured and you can just go in there and find it easier.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and Abby's going to fix her eye makeup because it's running because she's laughed too hard. And we'll be back with our Fresh Tank Black Tank segment.
Yeah, it looks like I just had a really fun long night, doesn't it? We'll be right back.
Electrical surge protection is one of the cheapest insurance policies you can provide for your RV, and the Power Watchdog Smart Surge Protector, made by Hughes Autoformers, beats the competition with field replaceable surge modules. With other brands, when the surge protector takes a large surge or a spike, you have to throw it away. The Power Watchdog can be brought back to life with one small affordable part you can replace yourself. They'll even give you a free surge module in the first 2 years and now have a limited lifetime warranty. Use the coupon code RVMiles, all one word, for 10% off your order at HughesAutoformers.com. That's code RVMiles for 10% off at HughesAutoformers.com. Fall is around the corner, so it's time to start thinking about prepping for the winter off-season. Whether you own a motorhome, a travel trailer, or a truck camper, EmpireCovers.com is here to help protect all your vehicles against Mother Nature. EmpireCovers.com offers high-quality, affordable covers that are engineered to protect. Every cover comes with a free multi-year warranty to guarantee that it remains durable over time. If you're not in need of a full cover, Empire has just launched a line of RV rooftop covers that keep the roof of your RV clean and protect it from UV rays. Listeners can receive free shipping and 60% off the original price of their cover order. Visit EmpireCovers.com/RVMiles or use promo code MILES60 at checkout. EmpireCovers.com. Protect what you love.
We are back, and it is time to check the levels of our tanks. Jason, what is in your black tank?
So my black tank is a man, a doctor actually from Utah, who was at Denali National Park, who has been charged with creating a fictitious story in order to be rescued via helicopter at Denali National Park, climbing Mount Denali.
Yeah, he was done. He was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, this story, it talks about how often there's a problem at places like this where, you've got all these people really motivated. They want to summit Denali. Like, it's a big deal to them. And often they're going in teams. They're always going in teams, right? But often that team splits up because there's a segment of the team that is like, I'm done. I'm not going any further. And then
that'd be my team.
And then what ends up happening is like a couple people from that team end up joining forces with another team, and they don't know each other. They haven't planned well. They're not carrying the right gear, whatever it might be. Yeah. And there's issues. So this doctor continues on with one person from their team, and then they partner with a couple other people. And that person started having some altitude sickness. So the rest of the team decided that they were going to help that person down. And this doctor, Jason Lance, horrible name, by the way, this doctor decided, well, I'm a doctor, but I'm not going to help these people down. I don't know if he's a medical doctor or not, but I'm not going to help this guy down. I'm going to continue on. So he continues on by himself. And then he gives up and comes back. And they end up calling a rescue helicopter to take the person with altitude sickness to safety. So they do that, but Dr. Lance can't do it on his own. So he ends up coming back and rejoins with the party. The guy who had the altitude sickness, that he had a GPS communication device. So they text the National Park Service, and a rescue
SOS,
helicopter comes in and brings that guy to safety. So I guess that's where he got the idea of like, well, maybe they can just bring me back down too. So he sends a message saying that they don't have enough equipment to get back down and that they need rescue.
The story is crazy where it goes from here.
The rest of the party is saying, no, we need to go back down. And the National Park Service is like, if you have rope, you need to descend now. And he just keeps messaging them that they don't have safe equipment. The National Park Service ranger meets up with him at the base camp without a helicopter. They had sent a helicopter, but the helicopter saw them descending on their own. It was like, nuh-uh, we're not doing this. And so a ranger meets up with him and is demanding for the GPS device back and is telling him not to delete any messages on it. But they're able to contact Garmin, whose device it was, and get all the messages off of it. And he had sent several messages with varying different reasons why he needed a helicopter rescue when he was perfectly fine. And so he's being charged with wasting rangers' time and creating up a false story to get a rescue. Anyway.
Well, my favorite part of that story was when he was like, they have to come rescue us. We paid our fee to climb this. And I was like,
that's what he told the rest of the party.
Your fee doesn't include helicopter airlift should you decide to not do this. All right. What is in your fresh tank this week?
So my fresh tank is the All Trails app. If you're a hiker, I'm sure you know real well. It's a great app and it's really useful. We have yet to actually pay the fee to become members of it, where you can actually download the trail maps and stuff. But we're cheapos and do the free version.
Why are you giving all our secrets away?
But All Trails has just received, get this, $150 million in funding.
Whoa.
Sometimes it's hard to realize how big the outdoor recreation industry is and how much money goes into it. This is an app that tracks your route on a trail and tells you, when we use it here in the U.S., but obviously it's a worldwide app. $150 million in venture capital funding. It's a great app.
And now think of how even better, hopefully, this app is going to become. Hey, look. Claps.
Yeah, good for All Trails.
Go get that funding. Go get that funding.
All right,
good job.
What's in your black tank this week?
So my black tank, I'm going after some big dogs here. My black tank goes to Farmer's Almanac for lying liars.
Boo, you don't read the Farmer's Almanac and trust what it says about the weather.
I love that you just called me Boo. I keep giving away all our secrets.
Yeah.
Listen, Farmer's Almanac, you are liars with your mild winter.
Let me tell you what else you can't trust. When you look at that forecast and you're like looking 4 weeks ahead to the forecast, that is not real. That is like what it has been on average in the past. That is not real.
Don't you come at AccuWeather like that. You take it back. You take that back.
You got about 5 days of semi-accuracy, and beyond that, it is a crap shoot.
And yet, who was the one that was like, "Oh, it's going to be such a great mild winter up here in the Midwest"?
That was the Farmer's Almanac.
Not this gal. Not this gal, but that guy. And Farmer's Almanac. So my black tank just goes to Farmer's Almanac for just lying. Just flat out lying to me. Like, that's what you did. So thank you. All right, I'm done.
You really just got mad at the weather.
I did.
At the weather reporting.
Yes. Farmer's Almanac.
Right.
What are they doing over there?
What's in your fresh tank?
My fresh tank goes to, we talked a little bit about this, our friend Damien and the entire Rootless Living team. Rootless Living is a fantastic magazine. They've been around for several years now. They have gone out and they have branched, and they have a new magazine with a special edition that just dropped a few days ago. The magazine is called RV Today. It is gorgeous. It's a magazine for RVers by RVers. This is an independent publication. It's clean. It's beautiful. It's fresh. It's inclusive. And this special edition is great. Issue 1 is going to drop in February, but this is a special edition where they did their top sort of story was 50 RV content creators. And we were very, very honored to be one of those 50 that was included in this list. And I'm thrilled for Damien, and I'm thrilled for everybody over at RV Today. It's a beautiful magazine. We do have, and I'm going to put it in the show notes for rvmiles.com/218, so that I'll put it in there that you can go and look at this yourself. And then RV Today does have, for anyone that wants to pick up either a digital or a print, 20% off during this new launch. So that'll also be in there as well, so that you can go and support RV Today. We're going to be partnering with them when we're at the Tampa Super Show to do something together between RV Miles and RV Today. I'm not quite sure what that is yet, but just kind of keep that, in the back of your brain.
We're big fans of the folks over there, and I'm sure you can expect to see some articles from us in RV Today and stuff in the future. So. We couldn't be more happy and supportive of their efforts over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So just go over to rvmiles.com/218 so you can go and look at this magazine. And more so than anything, even if we weren't in this, I would still be talking about this, because it's just really great to see something for the RV community being done by the RV community. And that's really important that we support that.
All right, before we go, I have a quick tip. We're going to bring the tip of the day back, of the week.
And I have to talk about merch.
And then Abby has to talk about merch.
Yeah.
So my tip comes from an 11-year-old, friends of our kids, and their parents are friends of ours that we've recently met. But we went on a hike with them, and there have been these weird apps that sort of work sometimes where you can take a picture of a leaf, and her father and I were talking about like what kind of tree a certain tree was and trying to figure out what it was. And we were trying to like use like these old apps that sometimes work and usually don't, that you take a picture and identify a leaf or a plant or whatever, and it tells you what it is. And we weren't getting it to work. And she comes up and she's like, oh, you could just do that in the Google Photos app. So she shows us that if you open the Google Photos app and you take a photo of a leaf, for instance, there is a little button that you can press at the bottom of the photo after you take it and you look at the photo. Like click on the photo, look at it. There's like an image search button, and it will identify what the photo is of. And it doesn't have to be of a tree. It can be of a car. It can be of anything. And this was so brilliant.
Did that like blew my mind. Millennial brain?
It did. It did. We're at that age where kids are starting to teach us things.
Jamie and I must have been way down the trail because I was not at all part of this. Must have been that part of the trail where we took off and left y'all with the kids.
No, it wasn't. But we were in the parking lot, and you two were just gabbing. But
oh, okay. Well, that also sounds accurate. So that is very, very cool. So
thank you, Grace.
Yes,
that was a very effective tip.
Yes, absolutely. And so one more thing before we go. So one of the things we took away from the RV Miles meetup was that people were really curious if we had sort of RV Miles merchandise, and we have. And we have not been very good about sharing it. And so one of the things we took away from this was that we needed to go in there and we really needed to do this shop some justice and take a look at it. And we have a lovely human being that puts up with Jason and I and works for us and is part of Team RV Miles. And Kelsey took this, ran with it, and they put together a very fresh, new store for us, some great new designs, as well as just the traditional RV Miles logo. And that is so very, very close to launching. Kelsey and I, for the last couple of days, have really been working on this store. Kelsey has really been working on the store and the designs and sending things over for Jason and I to look at and to kind of tweak a little bit. And I am thrilled with it. I am thrilled with the sense of community that now runs through this merchandise, this content that we have created. I really like that it's not so much just focused on RV Miles as it is about just like kind of the vibe that we like to go for over here. And so this store is going to be launching very soon, in time for those who have asked us, can we get something for the holidays? Now, it's, one of those slow rolls, and the very, very best way to learn about when this is going to drop is to join our mailing list. And you can just go over to rvmiles.com/mailing list. Just drop your email in. That's all we need. We don't need anything else. And you will be on the mailing list. And that's going to go out. And those who are on the mailing list are going to get an incentive, and that is going to be a welcome to the RV Miles new RV Miles store. Here is a discount code. So if you are interested in that and you are not on our mailing list yet, now is the perfect time to do that, because we do have, as we get into the new year, a lot of things coming that really being on the mailing list are going to be the best way to find out about them first, because they're going to be kind of like very small things where we're not going to have a lot of tickets or a lot of the merchandise available.
So we'll put the link for that as for the mailing list as well in the description. So you can just click on the description for this episode, whether you're listening on a podcast app or watching on YouTube, and you'll find that link there as well.
Yeah.
That's it for this show.
That's it. We are so happy to be back. It feels like it's been a very long time since we've been here with you. And thank you to everyone who has come over to the new RV Miles podcast YouTube channel and is joining us now over there for the show. It's really great to be able to connect with you on a more community level that the RV Miles podcast was always intended for. If you have questions for Jason and I, please feel free to email them at editor@rvmiles.com. And just a really quick reminder, again, it is holiday season, and if you're doing your shopping on Amazon and you want to support the show, just head to amazon.com/shop/rvmiles before you do anything, and Jeff Bezos will send us a little bit of a kickback. All right, until next week, stay well, stay healthy, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.